I don't give a lot of public speeches, so if I get a case of the Bidens, please forgive me. First, I'd like to thank the state party for giving me the opportunity to speak up here today, and for all of you for being here. My name is Brandon Daugherty. I'm the vice chair of the St. Charles County Libertarian Party, and this is David, the treasurer. We're asking for your time to bring attention to something we deeply believe in and support. It is the Defend the Guard Act, and hopefully you will want to join us in our effort as well. What do you call a president who waits for Congress to declare war before sending troops overseas? A fossil. Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution gives Congress the sole power to declare war, to raise and support armies, to provide forth calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrectionists, and repel invasions. Congress has declared war a total of 11 times since we won our independence from Great Britain. 3 times in the 1800s, twice during World War I, and 6 times during World War II, with the last declaration in 1942 against Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria. Since then, 36,000 U.S. soldiers were killed in Korea, no war was declared, and another 103,000 were wounded. 58,000 were killed in Vietnam, another 304,000 wounded. 7,000 soldiers and 8,000 contractors were killed in the War on Terror, no war declared, and another 50,000 wounded. These are sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, and friends. These are the bravest among us who left behind their families and careers in order to serve our country. But for the soldiers who returned home, the battle was not over. Between government bureaucracy and antiquated systems, veterans faced long lines and egregious waiting periods to try to even see doctors or get care. Veterans with amputated limbs that they lost in the war were forced to wait weeks or even months to see a doctor. For those who managed to escape physical ailment while serving, the fight continues, mentally and emotionally. Among those soldiers who served in Iraq and Afghanistan during Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom, it is estimated that 18% have experienced PTSD. The National Vietnam Veterans Readjustment Survey found that 30% of men and 27% of women who served in Vietnam had experienced PTSD at some point after the war. The study also found that 15% of men and 9% of women were still battling PTSD nearly a decade after the war. Over 30,000 veterans of post-9/11 wars have committed suicide, according to the Watson Institute at Brown University. And veterans are 50% more likely to commit suicide than non-veteran Americans. But those are just statistics. That doesn't tell the true story of the pain. Anyone who has ever been to a funeral for a loved one understands the pain of losing someone close to you. There's no words to describe the sorrow, and I couldn't even begin to imagine the pain of having to bury a son or a daughter. When 20-year-old Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz was killed in Afghanistan, I stood on an overpass as a motorcade carried his body down Highway 70 back to his home in Wentzville. I, along with many others, cried as his mother went by, also crying and waving to those who had came out to show support for her son. A friend of mine was a veteran of Operation Desert Storm. He was a Marine. He would tell me about how his PTSD was still present. He would describe the nightmares that he faced, the nightmares where he would wake up, or where he was back in Kuwait with the guns firing and the explosions. He would wake up, but the images would replay in his head over and over again. And these are the true effects of war. Forget the trillions of dollars we've wasted. Forget our status on the world stage. It's the people. The cost of war is felt at home by those who served and those who know someone who served. The decision to send our men and women overseas and into combat is not one that should be made lightly, impulsively, by one man looking to score cheap political points. It should be made to protect our freedoms and liberties by Congress, and not the agenda of one man at the behest of the military-industrial complex. That's how the Founding and Fathers intended it, and they stated it clear as day in the Constitution. That's why we're urging support for the Defend the Guard Act. This bill, HB 1521, is one page long. It states, quote, "Notwithstanding any other provision of law, the Missouri National Guard and any member thereof shall not be released from the state into active duty combat unless the United States Congress has passed an official declaration of war to explicitly call forth the Missouri National Guard. The governor shall take all actions necessary to comply with the requirements of this section. Nothing in this section limits or prohibits the governor from consenting to the deployment of any Missouri National Guard member under Title 32 of the United States Code." Simply put, this bill requires Congress to declare war before sending members of the Missouri National Guard into combat. This legislation does not obstruct federal law, but instead ensures that Congress abides by their constitutional duty to declare war as outlined in Article 1, Section 8. From Defend the Guard's website, over 45% of soldiers deployed in the global war on terror were National Guardsmen. In May of last year, Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 138th Infantry, was sent to the Middle East to support Operation Spartan Shield, an operation to, quote, "build partner capacity in the Middle East to promote regional self-reliance and increase security." Some would call that nation building. Missouri is not the first state to put Defend the Guard on the floor. The first modern attempt was in West Virginia. After a years-long battle, the bill received a 50-50 split vote in the West Virginia House in 2020 and died when COVID lockdown began. Last year, Arizona became the first body to pass the legislation, 16-13, but the Speaker of the Arizona House refused to take the bill up. In January of this year, the New Hampshire House of Representatives passed Defend the Guard Act, and it's currently waiting and pending in the Senate. And on February 13th in the Georgia Senate, the Interstate Cooperation Committee passed Defend the Guard, and it now awaits reading on the Senate floor. Now is our time. Missouri now has an exciting opportunity to join New Hampshire and Georgia in getting this legislation to a vote. We have an opportunity to tell the powers that be that the valiant men and women who have enlisted to protect and defend us are not pawns to be used in their political game. As Ron Paul once said, the moral and constitutional obligations of our representatives in Washington are to protect liberty, not coddle the world, precipitating no-win wars. This is our moment now to fight for those who have been courageously fighting for us. So what can we do? First, familiarize yourself with Defend the Guard. You can go to defendtheguard.us or look up the bill and read the full text for yourself. The second thing you can do is to find out who your representatives are. On our county's website, LPSTCHMO, on the home page there's a link from the Missouri House Senate webpage where you can find your representative. The next thing you want to do is email and call. So on our website, we have a template email designed. Feel free to use it or not, but you can use that and copy and paste that and send that off to your congressman. Also on our website is a call flow where basically a call script for what to say. There's also non-answer talking points on there, and then a voicemail call flow. So to just leave a message, it's got a script there for you. The most important thing is to sound excited on the phone. The more energy you have, the more likely the congressman is going to respond or want to help us out. Might feel like it's important to us, might be important to them. And then make sure to tell a friend or share it on social media. If only the people in this room called and emailed their representative, it wouldn't go very far. But if you share this message and tell people about it and spread it and have other people call their congressman, even if they don't want to make the commitment to call, but if you can just convince a friend to email their congressman or convince your friend to share it on social media, that's how we're going to get this thing passed. Thank you for your time.